Oh yeah. Hey guys, what's going on? Jed Scott here from Scott Speed Shop, and I bought this Hurst shifter off eBay for the linkage rods off it for my A-body 4-speed swap for my 66 Dart, and I figure I'm gonna take this thing apart just because, and I want to rebuild it. And I was getting ready to do it, and I decided, you know what, there's a lot of people out there who don't realize how easy it is to take one of these shifters apart, clean it, rebuild it, and put it back together, and it'll work much better. So as you can see, this thing is pretty crusty. The outer casing is pretty corroded, got pits in it. I've already wiped some of the grease off, and some of the rust is falling off from PV Blaster. That's one thing I did, is I pulled the boot up. It's like a little skirt. You gotta look underneath it for skirt. You know, stroke her a little bit. All right, she's okay. Take your skirt off now. I soaked this thing in PV Blaster, worked it on the bench, and I can't get, I mean, listen to that. It sounds absolutely horrible. And what you got in here is a rod and a rod that rub together, and then you got a spring plate, and you got your reverse rod, then you got another spring plate, and then underneath this dust cover is the actual mechanism that the shifter bolts to or is welded to in this case. This is a factory Hurst shifter. I don't know if it's a factory Mopar, because, well, any kind of resemblance of casting numbers are completely eroded away from this pitting. But it does have a wood grain knob, or what was once wood grain. But I'm going to show you with a little bit of grease, a little PV Blaster, a pair of screwdrivers, wire brush head for a drill, battery's out of it, it's charging right now, and, you know, a couple socket simple tools. I'm not even going to use any of my punches or anything. We are just, say you're Joe Schmo in your backyard and all you got's a wooden table and you're going to rebuild your Hurst shifter for your hot rod, and you want to do it as cheap as possible. I'm going to show you how to do it in this video, so I hope you enjoy. So first things first, for rebuilding your Hurst shifters, you need to get it cleaned up and disassembled. So the first thing we need to do, obviously, is take the knob off. So once that's off, set that in a safe place. And we're going to slide this old boot off. Now yours may or may not have a boot still on it. Oh yeah, there we go. We're going to save that puppy. It's in pretty good shape, pretty pliable. You never know when you're going to need a shifter boot for anything. This can be used for many things, especially in your love life. All right, so first things first, we're going to leave this bolt in for now. This is basically just a giant clamshell. That's all this is. And we're not even going to use a pair of hammers. We have screwdrivers. We're sophisticated. These are prying tools and beating tools when used properly. We're going to go ahead and take out this nut here. Some shifters may have this. Some shifters may have a big adjuster bolt here and here. Leave those in. You don't need to take those out unless you're adjusting it. That's the only when you got to do that. So, I'll take this puppy out. There we go. And this little bolt will be replaced. It's a lock nut. I guess I should be calling it a nut. So we're going to put that, another tip, little paint can, throw your little essential crap in there. Alright, and then we're going to drive this baby out with our hammer. There we go. This is basically just a stove bolt. So we're going to put that in there with the nut so we don't get lost. And this little plate, we'll just pry it off. You want to make sure you keep everything oriented right. Shifter goes together in a specific way for a reason. We'll throw it in there, let it get jumbled around and lost. There's a bunch of different versions of Hurst shifters, so this is a general deal. Don't be afraid to tackle your Hurst shifter. Alright, so what holds this clamshell together is basically just pressure. So we got to get this bolt out, and there's this pin. You see this pin? That drives out from the back side. So normally you would take a chisel or a punch and you would get right here on the edge, you can kind of see it, and you would punch it out. But since we're Joe Blow in our backyard, all we got's a pair of screwdrivers. You're going to make a makeshift table, set this down, perfect. You're gonna take one screwdriver, get it on that lip, and kind of pry it down. Sometimes these will come out nice and easy, sometimes they will fight you. This one came out nice and easy. That's our pin. This will get cleaned up. It's pretty rough. You want this to be smooth because this is what everything rides on. So we'll clean that up later. We'll set it in our paint cup. Alright. So now we need to get this bolt out. And she's a being stubborn. So we're going to hit her with a little ugga-duggas. There you go. This is by no means the professional way how to do it, but this is a way to do it. This is how I do it most of the time. So you see like this boat, how corroded it is, so we're going to replace that bolt. Not boat. Not a boat. It's a bolt. There's a couple of ways you can take this cover off. This is the cover you need to remove that releases the clamshell. There's a tab and a tab. So originally I built a little contraption, basically a bolt and a sleeve, and it would press these apart. You can do that. But we're Joe Blow in our backyard. So what we're gonna do, and this is perfectly okay, you just gotta be really gentle about it. And by gentle, I mean a lot of force. These are really tight. There we go. All right. And that cover comes off like so. And what that does is that exposes the inner, ooh, that's gross, workings of our shifter. This is a worst case scenario kind of shifter. You know, you can pick this up, you want to pick it up like this. So inside the shifter, you can see how everything works. A lot of old grease and dirt and whatever that is. So now basically everything will just slide out in one big assembly. Take care to keep everything in order. Pull it out of the clamshell, and there's your Hurst clamshell. That's what everything sits in. This will get cleaned up and re-greased later. And here's your dust shield doing its job, collecting all the dust. I just want to show you, this was our dust cover. I literally just wiped it off. Never judge a book by its cover. Well, this thing, I'm going to judge it very intensely because it's really gross looking. So I'm going to put on my bitch mittens, kablamski, take this thing apart. Alright, so for this portion is very, and I can't stress enough, very important, these don't get mixed up. So, you have your primary, this is a spring plate, it's made out of spring steel. Do not bend this. So this came off like this. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it, we're going to transfer it over there. Then you have your first rod. We're going to lay that right there. You got your second one. Comes off right there. Then you have this is actually kind of more of a spacer plate. It's thicker. It goes right there. And your reverse lever. And your last plate. And this is your actual Hurst shifter. See, it springs over. Inside here, there's typically two big springs. A spring here and a spring here. And the whole thing pivots. And it's really crucial that this moves freely. When I first got this in the mail, it did not move. Little PP blaster, letting it soak for an hour or two, freed it up. But we got to get this puppy cleaned up because, well, if we're going to put this inside to store it, this ain't going to fly. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to be very careful not to mix everything up. I'm going to get everything clean. And once it's all clean, I'm going to show you how to reassemble it. Alright, so I just want to give you a quick progress update. This is not car cleaner. This is literally just a bucket of gasoline. And it's brown. It looks like chocolate, well, chocolate milk, honestly. And that was just after dunking this in there. But as you can hear, listen. That is now moving freely. We actually went and got one of my engine cleaning brushes, a little one, and we're running it through, cleaning everything up. So this baby is clean and dry. Went over the handle, a little bit of steel wool. We'll polish that out later. I just want to give you an example of how some of these plates have cleaned up. Now, they're not the greatest plates in the world. I'd probably recommend buying new ones. You can get these from Hurst. They're all pretty much the same. That's one thing you definitely want to double check is when you're cleaning these parts, check them for cracks or damage or weld or bigger holes and stuff. Oblong holes like this is perfectly round. But yeah, we're just getting everything cleaned up, and I want to give you a progress update. A little bit of gas, using a razor blade, my fingers, sometimes a wire brush, sometimes screwdriver, sometimes this brush. It's all you need to clean this baby up. So I'm gonna finish up and I'll show you when we're done. Alrighty guys, so welcome back. Everything is super clean. Look, you can actually see the chrome on that shaft. Everything moves real free. Everything's just dry, clean. We ended up having to paint this black. It's so pitted. The Hurst logo, you can barely read it where it says patent pending, and there would be Hurst right here. So just went ahead and painted this black just for appearance sake. I could have polished it, but for the sake of this video, we just painted said stuff. Put a little clear coat on it. We got our pin kind of cleaned up. We even cleaned up our stove bolt, polished the head of it just for an appearance sake. Our shim plate we didn't do much with, we just cleaned it. And as for all of our plates and shims and everything, they are just cleaned up. These would probably be all these shims. I would probably get a kit and replace these if this was a shifter I was going to use. And sorry about that, I had a phone call from my buddy Billy. By the way, if you need powder coating work, visit Phoenix Specialty Coatings. They do excellent powder coating work. If you want to see an example of their work, they have a Facebook page, they have a website, and the 1966 Yard Dart has their valve covers on it. They do excellent work. So Billy, thank you for derailing me because you got free advertising. But as I was saying, I would probably replace these if this was a shifter you're going to use, but we got them nice and smooth. So what we're going to do as far as cleanup and lubrication, we're going to make a custom mix of PB Blaster and wheel bearing grease. So let's get to work. Basically all we're going to do is we're just going to give everything a pretty liberal coating of grease and whatnot. So all you got to do, I like to use gloves because I don't like grease all over my hands, which I'm kind of a sissy about that. And it's just like packing a wheel bearing. Just want to get it everywhere, get everything lubed up. You do not want any of these parts in here to be dry. I guess it don't really matter, but the more lubrications in here, the better. So I'm going to get everything packed in pretty good, and I'm going to show you some more. But before I go, the same principle does apply to all these plates. Everything needs to be properly lubricated, about like so. Just a little light coating. Doesn't need to be a lot. You don't want it to stick together. So now my hands are all covered in crap. I'm going to very carefully turn the camera off, and I'll be back. Alrighty, now it's time for the most fun part. I'll put a little bit of grease on the inside of the shifter case just because there's really no such thing as too much lubricant. Ask your girlfriend. So it's done. We need to assemble the actual shifter itself. So, focus. That plate, what I'll do is I'll take the pin, lay it on there, just to keep everything lined up. There we go. And our spacer plate. And then that rod. And then that rod. And our main plate right there. That is essentially our Hurst shifter back together. What we're going to do is very carefully pull the pin out, which is very, very slippery. We're going to try and drop this baby down to the old shifter. And try not to misalign everything, which always happens. So no matter what you do, this stuff will get misaligned. So this is the funnest part, is just getting everything back in line. As you can see-ish. There we go, almost in. Boom. Just like that. Everything is back together. So what we're going to do one last time before we put everything together is we're going to put one more little dollop of grease inside the shifter itself. There we go. That should be good. All right, now we're going to take this plate. This is your butt plate. Camera. Okay, camera's still recording. And you just want to get it worked into place. Now that not everything is so damn slippery, we're going to get this in here. So you want to start one side, and then what you're going to do is you're going to take your screwdriver, pry that baby, and you just want to work it like that. Bam! Snap right into place. It's a little bit loose, so we'll go clamp that in the vise, tighten that clamp back down, but only after there we go. That new grade 8 bolt fits in there perfectly. So we actually use that grade 8 bolt, do that itself. So now what we got to do, we got to put this little guy back into place because it fell out, just like so. And this is our, I want our bolt. This is our stove bolt. There's the back of the shifter. That piece popped back out. I think that's supposed to be solid instead of broken, but not gonna worry about that. And make sure we put this on the correct way. Oop, everything's too free moving now. There we go. Oh, I never got a new bolt there. I'll be right back. So after about 5 minutes digging through the bolt bin, finally found a nylock nut, fine threaded, so put that baby on there. Now that's back in. Everything's moving really good and free. That's what we want, because this thing used to make some horrendous clunking sounds before we put it back together. And basically all you need to do now is just get this plate where it don't move so much. Of course, once it's bolted to the deal, to the shifter mount, it'll be fine. We got to put our dust cover back on, but that's literally just as simple as slide it in. There we go. Dust covers in, and voila, one rebuilt Hurst shifter mechanism. Technically not fully rebuilt. I would replace those spring plates, but now you know how to take your Hurst shifter apart, go through it, put new parts in it. It's not that hard. Anybody can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. So yeah, with that knowledge on how to rebuild a Hurst shifter, you can have anything you want as far as Hurst shifters go. This was the first box I ever rebuilt. It's a Hurst super shifter that I retrofitted a pistol grip on for my 70 Charger Jezebel. So now you know how to do it. Don't be afraid to buy an old junk Hurst shifter off eBay, because now you can yeah. So stay tuned, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for further episodes where I will teach you how to adjust your rods here, get a perfect shift, so that way everything is butter smooth. Like I said, I hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something, and hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
By the way, anybody who was curious how this thing turned out when it was all said and done, slide that over. Kaboom. One finished product. Hope you guys enjoyed.